2010 had some amazing game releases: Mario Galaxy 2, Xenoblade Chronicles, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and the list goes on. But the game I was most excited for was Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors was the first new Sonic game I would be able to play at launch. Sort of. I was pretty young in 2010, and I was hoping to get a Wii before Colors released, but it didn't happen. So instead I bought the DS version. The DS version of Colors is actually pretty good, and is my favorite Sonic game on DS. But I knew it wasn't the real Sonic Colors. I wouldn't be able to play Colors until after Generations released and after the Wii U was out. But when I finally got my hands on a Nintendo Wii, the first game I played on it was Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors was the next mainline Sonic game released after Unleashed. While I personally love Unleashed, a lot of people back then didn't, and their biggest reason for not liking it was the werehog. After Sonic 06, turning Sonic into a werewolf probably wasn't the smartest idea. A lot of people during this time just wanted to play as Sonic, and even though the werehog is just Sonic turned into a werewolf, the gameplay styles were completely different. During the day when you're playing as normal Sonic, the levels were fast-paced and fun. But during the night when you had to play as the werehog, the levels were slower, so fans and reviewers would say they would have liked the game more if you just got to play the daytime stages with no werehog. Sega listened to the feedback, and Sonic Colors did just that. The only reason why Sonic Unleashed had the werehog was because they said the game would be too short if the game was just the daytime stages. Like I said, Sonic Colors does not have any other gameplay style other than the boost formula, and Colors is a much shorter game than Unleashed. Unleashed should take a player around 8 to 10 hours. Colors took me a little over 2 hours to beat. Now obviously, just because a game is longer doesn't mean it's better, but Colors at the time was the shortest 3D Sonic game, except for maybe Sonic and the Black Knight. I haven't played that game in years, so genuinely I don't remember much from that game. But like I said, the length of a game doesn't matter that much. What matters is the gameplay, and Sonic Colors is pretty fun. The first level of Sonic Colors is Tropical Resort, and for a while it was one of my favorite first levels in the series. It's fun, has some great set pieces, and the music is energetic. After Act 2 is when the game introduces us to the new power-ups in Colors, the Wisp power-ups. Sonic can absorb these creatures and they'll give him some type of ability like spin dashing up walls, playing Minecraft, hovering, and lightspeed dashing, or just turning Sonic into a rocket! The first cutscene also starts after Act 2, and honestly I don't care that much about Sonic Colors' story. It's okay, I'm just not a fan of the writing that's clearly meant for younger kids. I'm also not a fan of stuttering cutscenes. Okay, so I should mention for this playthrough, I played through Sonic Colors Ultimate on the PS5. I chose to play Ultimate instead of the original Wii release because it's the most accessible version of Colors. The only way to play the original Colors is Wii or Wii U, or I guess you could always just emulate it. But Sega themselves wanted this to be the Ultimate version of Sonic Colors. Although I knew playing Ultimate was a bad decision as soon as I saw the opening cinematic running like this. I don't know why, but every cutscene in this game was stuttering. Thankfully, that was pretty much it for issues that I ran into when playing this game, because other than cutscenes, this game was running at a consistent 60 FPS. But anyway, let's get back into the gameplay. So unlike Sonic 2 and 3, where each zone was split up into 2 acts, Sonic Colors splits its levels into 6 acts. Act 1 and 2 of these levels are pretty good, but Act 3 through 6 are just sections of Act 1 or 2, but with a different gimmick, or the level design was altered just barely. For example, look at Tropical Resort Act 4. It's just a section of Act 1 again, but now with a robot that drops spikes. I beat this level under 30 seconds. And sadly, every planet is like this. It starts off strong, but by the third act, they start reusing levels. And now that I think about it, most of these levels are 2D. Now, I'm not one of those fans that thinks Sonic has to be 3D or 2D. My top 3 Sonic games are all very different and have very different gameplay styles, so I don't really care if it's 2D, 3D, Boost, Adventure, I don't really care. I just want a fun, replayable Sonic game. So Colors being mostly 2D never really bothered me. What bothers me most about this game is the later acts of each planet. I used to think it was lazy and say things like, why didn't they just make the later acts optional like the extra levels on Unleashed? But nowadays I have a much higher opinion of Sonic Colors. I mean, just look at the thumbnail. My opinion on Sonic Colors started to change back a few years ago when I decided to 100% every mainline 3D Sonic game. To get 100% in Sonic Colors, you have to find all the red rings. There are 5 red rings per act. Some of these red rings are in plain sight. Some of them you just need to jump up to a grind rail or just turn around. But most of them require the player to explore these levels by using the Wisp power-ups to reach alternate paths and hidden areas. And when I started doing this, searching for all the red rings, this is when my opinion on the game changed. I was having fun looking for these red rings, and it's kind of funny actually, because if I was asked why I like Sonic games, I would say I like replaying the levels, getting better at them, and trying to perfect my runs of each level. But here I am saying I like Colors for the complete opposite. To me, Colors is kind of like Sonic CD. I don't have fun just running through the levels of Sonic CD. If I'm replaying Sonic CD, I'm going to try and destroy all the machines or try to collect all the time stones. If I'm replaying Sonic Colors, I'm going to try and collect all the red rings, or I'm just going to play through all the levels using the reward you get for collecting all the red rings. After you collect enough red rings, you will unlock levels in Eggman's Game Land. If you beat these levels, you get a Chaos Emerald. If you collect all the red rings and beat all the Game Land levels, you unlock... For the first time ever, Super Sonic was playable in normal levels in 3D. Like I said, I played Generations before Colors. Generations let you play as Super Sonic in normal stages, but it's so much better in Colors. In Generations, Super Sonic would just fly over everything, but in Colors you still have to control him. Sadly, you can't use Wisp power-ups with Super Sonic. I know that would break the game, but it would be so much fun to mix Super Sonic with Frenzy. I always thought the last few levels of Colors were pretty cool. First we got Terminal Velocity. There's not much to this level, it's just one of those levels where you have to move to the right lane to avoid damage. But after that is the final boss. The second phase of this boss has one of my favorite final boss tracks in the series. It's so good. In general, Colors has an amazing soundtrack. From Tropical Resort to Asteroid Coaster, each song in this game matches its stage perfectly. So for some reason, Colors Ultimate remixed these songs. I know there are a lot of people who like these remixes, but to me, some are alright. But the rest just don't match the level as well as the original songs do, in my opinion, of course. The only song in Ultimate that I like more than the original is the boss theme remixed by Jun Senoue. Colors Ultimate did eventually get a patch that lets you choose what music you want to listen to though. Anyways, after the final boss there is one more level, which is just a straight line where Sonic runs away from a black hole. Sonic ends up getting sucked in by the black hole, but the Wisp saves him and brings him back down to Earth, and they leave and never come back. And that's Sonic Colors, a game that when I first played it I thought it was okay, but now I think Colors is great. But to enjoy Colors as much as possible, I think you need to find all the red rings. If you're going to play Sonic Colors, then play the original Wii version. It's just a better experience over Colors Ultimate. Even with the patches it got, it still has issues like graphics flickering, and the lighting and presentation is just better on the Wii. The next Sonic related video will be about Sonic Frontiers when it releases in a few weeks, so for now I'm going to go back and play some more PO6.